Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Lebanon Board of Zoning Appeals meeting for July. We have roll call, please.
Mark Vanneman, absent. Chad Kiger, absent. Bruce Pauley,
Here.
Ron Edwards,
Here.
and Laurie Gross. Here.
Here tonight. I think Chad's supposed to come, but
We'll note that back in.
I want to remind everybody, if you're going to speak tonight, if wants to speak tonight, please sign in. It is a public meeting, and we'll have you sign in and talk to you when time comes. We only have one item tonight. It's docket 2249. Bob Stansberry, on behalf of the CCL Property LLC, requesting 6 development standard variances to construct a new industrial building on the property located 640 Ransdell Road. Property is zoned general industrial district and is in the interstate overlay district. Ben?
We'll get into that in a second, but I think we have minutes to approve first.
Okay, why don't we do that first?
Yeah.
Okay, if everybody has looked at last month's agenda or meeting minutes and no questions, I'd entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve the minutes as written.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, meeting minutes are approved. Okay, Ben?
Thank you, Mr. Pauley. Now we'll get to the item before you here on the agenda tonight. The property location is 640 Ransdell Road. This is an existing site that now has a new owner that is looking to make some improvements on the site, including the construction of a building that's a second building, in fact, that is about 5,000 square feet, and then making some other general site improvements and cleanup. So just to kind of give you an overview of the site here, if they want to pull the screen up for us here. This is the condition of the site under the previous owner that you see here, Gabriel Metals. They use it for a recycling center. So it kind of gives you an idea. There is an existing building that's up off of Ransdell Road. The interstate's just off the screen here to the bottom. The site is entirely enclosed within a wooden privacy fence, but this was the condition of the property with the previous owner. This is a quick rendering of what's proposed from the new owner. Cleaning up the existing paved area, adding a small little additional asphalt paved area that you see here, and then this would be the proposed location of the new building, along with some proposed landscaping that would be between the building and the interstate, returning the rest of the site back to grass. You can kind of see here that a lot of it's kind of gravel, kind of dirt, pretty well worn, and they're going to be returning a decent amount of that area back to grass that you see here. Let me also just kind of give you some images. This is a picture that we took of the site from Ransdell Road. Again, you can see there's some landscaping along the frontage of Ransdell Road, coupled with that wood privacy fence, along with a security gate. Very little you can actually see inside the site from Ransdell Road. And then from the interstate, and I can vouch for this picture because Matt was pretty much hanging out the window while I was driving past on the shoulder. This is what you see from the interstate, which again is not much of the internal parts of the site. So again, you've got a little bit of a mound that's here, so it is higher than the interstate, and then the 6-foot wood privacy fence. There really is very low visibility into the site from the interstate also, so not again much that you're able to see once you get inside that wood privacy fence. So that just kind of gives you a little bit of the site overview and a little bit of context for the discussion tonight. Again, we'll go back here, kind of give you an overview here in terms of what they're looking to propose and the variances that are being sought. So again, this is a construction of a second building on the site. It is an all-metal building construction, similar to the existing building on the site, and also similar to probably a dozen other buildings in this business park that you see here. It is in the interstate overlay district, so it does have some heightened standards, which have led to a couple of the variance requests to see before you here tonight. The first, as I mentioned, the building construction is based on building materials. In the overlay district, a minimum of 50% masonry is required, and they have requested relief from that to allow them the construction of the all-metal 100% building. Again, part of their hardship, and I'll walk through these a little bit more specifically here in a second, is the fact that there are dozens of other buildings in the business park that are designed of metal construction, so really just asking for a similar architectural design and construction standard to what's already in the business park. And in fact, I believe they even provided a map that shows you the location This kind of gives you a little bit of an idea. Let me zoom out a little bit so you can actually see. So here's the proposed site and the proposed building. You can kind of see here it's highlighted just in the general vicinity of that building. There's about a half dozen other steel buildings that already exist just in the vicinity of that proposed building. These are all entirely steel buildings. Couple that with the fact that there's very low visibility from the interstate where you'd actually be able to see it, which is the primary reason why we have that standard, because of visibility from the interstate. Given the fact that you won't be able to see this building, we worked with them and supported the request for that relief from the building material standard. The second request is based on the corridor buffer. Again, as I mentioned, this is in an interstate overlay district that has an additional 30-foot buffer requirement along the interstate, and then you couple that with a setback requirement of 50 feet because it's in the general industrial zoning district. So the building setback would have to be a minimum of 80 feet from the interstate before you can place the building. And I'll go back to the site plan and show you why they've placed the building in this location. You can kind of see here there's a dashed area that runs right through the center of this property. That is a sanitary sewer easement. So this is essentially, in terms of building a building this size, this is really one of the very few areas where you'd be able to place that building and avoid that sanitary sewer easement and allow them the flexibility to get around the building with trucks the way that they want to adequately here. So that really limits their ability of where to place that building. So that's the reason for the location of the building closer to the interstate than is permitted based on that corridor buffer. And so they have kept it a little bit more than 50 feet from the property line adjacent to the interstate, but have requested relief from that corridor buffer setback of 30 feet to allow them to place that building in a location that allows them to avoid that sanitary sewer easement. The third request is then building orientation. Again, this is an overlay district standard. Due to visibility from the interstate, that ordinance standard would say that we would want a design of a building such that it at least looks like a front elevation facing the interstate. They have essentially, this is a building essentially with overhead doors. And so they have located the overhead doors on the north side of the building where you can get access to that part of the building with trucks. And it's essentially the back of the building facing the interstate because that's really the way the building needs to orient itself in order to get trucks into the building. And again, couple that with the fact that you can't even see the building from the interstate anyway, so the design of the building really doesn't cause any issues. And so we have supported their request for a relief from the building orientation requirement of the overlay district to allow them essentially to put the front of the building on the north side where the trucks will be able to access the site. 4, 5, and 6, the variance requests are essentially based on existing conditions on the site. Because this is in an overlay district and with the level of improvements they're making, the ordinance would suggest that they would need to improve the entire site up to current standards. So that brings into play the standards such as parking lot perimeter landscaping, interior landscaping, and parking lot curbing, which are not present on the site now. So in looking at that with them and with how the site is oriented, with the fact that there's a wooden privacy fence that entirely encircles the site, the addition of parking lot perimeter landscaping would really add no benefit in terms of providing some screening on the site because there's already that wood privacy fence there. So really requiring them to add that landscaping would provide no additional benefits. So we've supported requesting relief from the parking lot perimeter landscaping requirement. In terms of parking lot interior landscaping, we've had this discussion a number of times for sites where there is a lot of truck access and a lot of truck movements. Interior landscaping doesn't really work well with that kind of site design. To put landscape islands in the middle of an area where we're going to have trucks that are trying to make maneuvers and move around the site and get into overhead doors. So they have requested relief from that interior landscaping requirement to allow essentially the current conditions, existing conditions to continue as they are. The last one is parking area curbing. Again, looking at this with them, the whole site right now sheet drains. So requiring them to put curbing, you would essentially have to change the way that the drainage pattern works on the entire site. You'd be looking at doing underground stormwater systems that aren't there currently. So you're really reworking the entire site just to put some curbing on there. So again, with the fact that you really can't see the site from the roads, we felt like it was acceptable to allow them to request relief from that parking area curbing requirement, again, to let the existing condition on the site continue. So that is those are a quick overview of the 6 variance requests that are before you tonight, and I will not read through all of the findings of fact. There are findings of fact for each one of these items, but I'll at least identify that they're located in the staff report for the record. And in terms of recommendations, we have recommended approval of all variance requests And we did place one condition on the request for the corridor buffer relief that, and I'll go back to the site plan where you could see it. They did propose the addition of some tree plantings across the back of the building that would be between the building and the fence. And as they mature, certainly they will provide some additional screening along that property line. And we just had indicated that in order to just kind of to solidify the fact that they were proposing that, we wanted to place a condition in there that the landscaping that is being proposed as indicated on the landscape plan as part of the, and have that installed as part of the construction of the proposed facility, just again to make sure we have something in writing that places that as a condition, that those plants be installed as part of the construction project. So again, we have recommended approval of all 6 variance requests subject to that condition that we've placed on the landscaping. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
What's the quality of the perimeter fencing?
It's in pretty decent shape, but the applicant could probably let you know in terms of the total perimeter. You can kind of see here, while the fact that it's getting a little overgrown on the state side of the property line, the fence itself is in pretty decent shape along there. And then let me go back to the previous photo, at least from the Ransdale Road side. Again, you can see it's a very similar condition, so I didn't notice there were any gaps or anything that was falling down. It is a little bit older fence, but it appears to be in pretty good condition.
Questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Would the applicant care to step forward and address the board?
My name's Bob Stansbury. As far as the condition of the fence, there are a few boards there that I intend on replacing, that as far as the fencing itself, but as far as any of the construction and so forth, I have my engineer here, Paul from Monument Engineering. If you have any questions as far as the construction or the landscaping, he's done all the work towards that. And then the business that we plan on putting in here also have the owner and the head of the B&R porta potty here, if you have any questions as far as what we're putting in there, as far as what business we're going to intend on putting in there. So if you have any questions for them, feel free. We've done a lot of work to that property. It was a disaster, but we've got it cleaned up, and then when we applied for the building permit, we did not have any idea that there was so many zoning ordinance along that interstate, or we would have maybe had a second thoughts on purchasing a property, but we've bought it. It's got a lot invested in it now, cleaning it up. We'd love to go forward with it, and any other things that we can do to make this thing work, please let me know. All right, you have any questions for Brad or Paul?
No, the only question I would have, I guess the environmental end of it has been looked over, being as it was a junkyard.
Yes, we did all our due diligence as far as the phase 1 and phase 2 of it and so forth, and we're confident that there's no issues there.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bonnie, Lori, any questions for anybody?
Nope.
That being said, I'll open the meeting to the public. If anybody cares to address the board, please step forward.
My name's Jim Meacham. I own the property right across the street from the property that's being discussed this evening. What's the intended use of the property?
Is that going to be your only question?
No, I'll have a couple.
Yeah, go ahead and ask all your questions, and after we close the public hearing, we'll let them answer them.
Okay, so the intended use of the property, and will the truck traffic across that easement for the sewer system have any effect on the sewer system? And how will that impact the surrounding properties?
That it?
For now.
Okay, well, we'll close the public end of the meeting. You want to come back and, Mr. Stansberry, and answer those questions?
I'm going to let my engineer call, address that.
Yeah, I'll let them talk about the use of the property in terms of the sanitary sewer. Like all sanitary sewers, we design them and bury them to city standards, so there will be no impact. I mean, there's correct amounts of backfill and things like that, so there shouldn't, I mean, they may have some more information about the sanitary sewer, but there should be no issue with driving any equipment across it. And
Okay.
obviously, there's been equipment driving across it for years with the previous use, but it's been designed such that that sort of thing is acceptable.
Thank you.
Paul Nasher, Monument Engineering. Just a quick follow-up on what Ben said. That sewer is 15 feet underground, so properly compacted and everything else. No live load from any vehicle imaginable would have any effect on the sewer.
Do you want to stay and answer the intended use of the property?
Intended use, I'll turn that back to, I guess essentially that the building is,
Brad, who
Go
runs
ahead.
that operation, answer any questions.
I'm Bradley Fry, and so the intended use is it's just a holding yard for portable sanitation. So our trucks, everything else, we have the drain systems and everything like that all going into the city sewer and so forth. There is never no sewage or anything left on site, it's just product only. And it's usually cleaned at that point in time before it's brought to that yard, so there wouldn't be no issues there, so. But it always portable sanitation.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Okay.
Thank you.
I don't believe so. Okay, if there's no questions, I'd look for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve. Where'd my docket number go? Docket 22-49. And Ben, would you like for me to read this in here about number 1? That the applicant installed the proposed landscape material as indicated on the landscape plan as part of the construction of the proposed facility.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Kelly?
Bruce Pauly,
Aye.
Ron Edwards,
Aye.
Lori Gross.
Aye.
Motion carries. Congratulations, good luck.
Thank you, gentlemen and ladies.
Okay, unless there's any other questions or concerns tonight? You, Ben? Okay, it was a long meeting, so the next regular scheduled meeting would be August the 1st, Monday, August 1st, and would look for a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion is adjourned, or meeting is adjourned until Monday, August 1st.